Good morning, Year 1. It's Tuesday the 5th of May. Yesterday, we looked at the front cover of the story that we're going to be studying and you guessed the title. Now, we will find out the title, but not just yet. Before we do that, I would like you to predict what you think the story might be about today. So yesterday we looked at what we think the story is called, the title, and today we are going to think about what the story is about. So I'm going to show you some different pictures. Now they are all pictures from the actual story. And I would like you to try and tell me the story using the pictures. Again, if you do know the story, if you know what happens, then I'd like you to look at the pictures and try and think of a different story to the one you know. So what else might the story be about? Now there are different ways that you can tell the story. You might like to act it out. So you might like to try and be the characters you see on each of the slides. You might like to get your toys or some action figures to be different characters and use different voices. You might like to write down some sentences. So for each of the pictures, you might like to write down what you think is happening. You might like to ask someone at home to print the pictures out, and you could make a book, and underneath the pictures you could write down the sentences, you could write down what you think is happening in that part of the story. You might like to go on the computer or the iPad and you might like to type your sentences out, so then you could print out your story. Or you might like to just tell someone the story. You might like to choose more than one of these things. On each of the pages and each of the pictures you will see either a sentence or some adjectives or a phrase. And that is something that you must have when you're telling the story. So for example, when you're looking at this page, if you are telling the story or writing it down, I want you to try your hardest to include golden yellow sunflowers. So again, have a look at the character. What do you think the character's doing? Where do you think the setting is? What do you think's happening? Now the pictures I'm going to show you are in order. So this is from the very beginning of the story. The next page, I'd like you to include blue hat. What do you think the characters are saying to each other? How do you think they know each other? Where do you think they are? Brightly coloured paints. Who do you think the paints belong to? What do you think they are doing with the paints? Why do you think there's a character hiding behind the painting, or are they hiding? He looked as sad as a dark cloud. Why do you think he looked sad? What's made him sad? What might he be thinking? Beautiful view. Who is looking at the view? Why are they looking at the view? What is the view? Bright yellow book. Who does the yellow book belong to? Where is it being put? Why is it being put there? The sunflowers were as bright as a light. Where have the sunflowers come from? What else can you see in those pictures? When you've told your story or written your story using the pictures that I've shown you, I'd like you to read it through if it's been written down and just check that you've got your capital letters, your finger spaces and your sounds. And then on the next slide you will see a link. If you click on this link, you will get to hear the story and you will get to read the story. You will find out what the actual title is called and you'll find out what the story is about. I wonder if any of you managed to guess it correctly.